Hello everyone, and welcome back to another week of Sabbath School Nuggets. Before we begin, I just want to say thank you to Cynthia for her wonderful insights into last week's lesson, Offerings for Jesus. Now this week's lesson addresses a very important topic, dealing with debt. Our memory text for this week comes from Proverbs 22, verse 7. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Now, the author of today's lesson starts out with a great definition of debt. He says that debt is living today on what you expect to earn in the future. The truth of the matter is, we live in a world that has become comfortable with debt. Everywhere you turn, somebody is trying to sell you something based on the idea of have it now and pay later. Now, here's the thing. The Bible does not condemn the borrowing of money. After all, there's good debt, like borrowing money to buy a house or borrowing money to start a business. And then there's bad debt, such as credit card debt. As Sabbath's lesson points out, 26 times the Bible talks about debt, and never does it speak of debt in a positive light. The fact of the matter is, when God asks us not to do something, He's trying to protect us. This week, we're going to learn exactly what it is that God is trying to protect us from. Now we come to Sunday's lesson, and the author of our lesson, who just happens to be a financial expert, indicates that there are three main reasons as to why some people go into debt. Reason number one, being financially illiterate. In other words, nobody taught us how to manage our finances. After all, you can't apply what you don't know. This week, we're going to learn some of the basics for good financial management. The second reason people go into debt is because of greed or selfishness. Now, we don't often think of ourselves as being either greedy or selfish. So what does the author mean by greed? Well, it's living beyond our means, spending more money on our lifestyle than we can afford. And the reason we do so is because we're either trying to impress people around us or we're trying to have more than we can afford. And lastly, we go into debt because of personal misfortune. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, and the next thing you know, disaster strikes and your money is gone. Your spouse might become sick, and you may not only lose an income, but now you have medical bills and your house might be damaged in a storm or it was destroyed in a fire. For some people, you lost a job you couldn't afford to lose. Some people are born into poverty. Here's the point of this week's lesson. It doesn't matter how you got into debt. By God's grace and our willing obedience, we can get out of debt. But more about that later in the week. Thank you for stopping by. I'll see you tomorrow.